Alright, hello everybody, we are back with some more Hades 2 1.0 content. Vow of Rivals Bossing Guide Part 1 today. Hecate and the Sirens. We're going to jump straight into the Hecate fight and discuss all the different tactics I use to defeat Rivals Hecate in not only a safe, but a very timely manner. After that, we will do the same for the Vow of Rivals Sirens fight. I figured it best to do this with the maximum amount on the Vow of Frenzy active, as that is when the Rivals bosses are at their most lethal, and a lot of their different patterns overlap in the most difficult ways. Without further ado, let's break down both Rivals Hecate and then the Sirens. Okay, Rivals Hecate. This fight has 3 phases. Each time Hecate gets inside of her invulnerability shield and you have to clear witches, at the end of that signals the next phase of the fight. In each new phase, she acquires new attack patterns. If you ever deal enough damage to Hecate, it's considered a combo breaker. What does that mean? Hecate will teleport. Phase 1 we are currently in. Hecate is going to do a scripted Dark Side special. That's the pulse that goes across the ground. Dash through it, punish with a big attack. She can then either do a second Dark Side pulse like you have seen, or go straight into the Dark Side attack, which are the waves that are about to come out. In our case, she did 2 pulses and then the waves. She can do just 1 pulse and then the waves. Just be wary of that. To dodge the waves that are about to come out, you just run around in a circle. Not too close to Hecate or they will hit. Besides that, in phase 1, the only other thing that Hecate is going to do is these chops. If you see her moving her torches to the left or right of her, it's going to be the single chops. If you see both torches and she moves them back equally to the left and right, it is the double chop. A single chop can be easily dodged going left or right in relation to Hecate. A double chop, you dash straight into Hecate. Simple as pie. Only other thing besides that in phase 1 is going to be the clone attacks. The ground pulses, the big balls, the small balls. You name it, they can do it. How do you tell what is a real Hecate and what is a fake Hecate? The real Hecate can move. The clones do not. So if you ever see a Hecate move, that's the real one. Also, if you apply a curse to a Hecate, and only the real Hecate will have that curse. So you can always be aware of any of the curses you are applying, and you'll realize which one is real and which one is fake. Typically, the real Hecate likes to spawn away from the clones, but do not always follow that rule, as it will not hold true. It's more of a general rule of thumb thing, more so than the hard guaranteed rule. You can just see I know that's the real Hecate because I applied glow. You can see the glow status under the Hecate. It's moving, it's real. Oh, look at that. We have triggered phase 2 of the fight. You have to clear out 4 witches in this phase. Next time she does it, it'll be 6 witches. She has a plethora of different attacks. You have these fast firing waves. You have these small total eclipse attacks, which are the small little target circles on the ground. You have the big total eclipse attacks. You also have Lunar Ray. You then have big projectile balls, which you've seen from the clones, and small projectile balls, which you're currently seeing from this clone. The real Hecate can do all of those things in the phase transition pattern. Once you clear out the 4 witches in the first phase, you then are into phase 2 of the fight. Hecate is going to be doing the same scythe chops, except she can also now do a wolf howl on top of the scythe chops and the dark side, so be wary of that. Now, wolf howl is very easily punished by dashing through it in a good, timely manner and punishing with a big attack. So we'll wait for one to show up. Dash through, there's your punish window. You get a long time to wind up and attack Hecate. If we can do it with the Moonstone Axe, you can do it with practically anything in the game. That's the only difference from phase 2. We'll go ahead, show it off again, dash through, punish window. Triple sheep ball, signifying phase 3. Careful of the split. This pattern is notorious for taking a lot of damage while dodging the sheep ball. There's no real consistent way not to, and I'm actually really glad we got this pattern to show that off. I personally think it needs a looking at, maybe a wee bit of a rebalancing. However, you can either tank sheep ball, run away into a corner as this pattern gets a lot less dangerous the farther away you are, or you can just look for a general spacing between these small, fast-firing scythe attacks that she's doing, and look to dodge the sheep ball there. We got absolutely lit up dodging our sheep ball. I've had times where I've done it hitless. I haven't exactly found a consistent way to do so during that pattern. I'm sure there's one somewhere with a specific lineup. Every other pattern is typically pretty easy to dodge sheep ball and not take much damage. We've cleared the witches, we've activated phase 3. Not only can Hecate Darkside, Wolf Howl, and do her typical scythe attacks, but she has now unlocked the machine gun attack, which you are seeing her do here. She draws her torches back, she fires around in a circle, she attempts to track you. The best thing you can do is recognize said pattern and get right on top of her when she does it to punish her with some big damage. So she teleports, cock back, you rush in behind, you're damaging. That pretty much covers everything in the Hecate fight that I wanted to show and illustrate, except for the different in-phase patterns. However, for the most part with those in-phase patterns, there is no special way to dodge the pattern, except for Lunar Ray that has a safe zone at the very top left of the map. Lunar Ray, those long white beams that Hecate shoots out in the Rivals fight, there is 3 of them, will not hit this top left portion of the map, so note that. And then her ground pulse, of course, you can see that visibly not extend all the way down here to the bottom right. Outside of those outliers, typically you are just moving around, trying not to get hit, dashing around while you clear the witches. There's nothing special to do. Space out as far as you can from the sheep ball. Get yourself in a nice safe spot. My personal favorite spot is down in this bottom right. Dash back and forth, or up and down if you prefer that, to dodge it, and then continue on to your witch clear. That, in a nutshell, is the Vow of Rivals Hecate fight. Alright, time for our first fight with the Sirens. Once again, a scripted opening. Roxy is going to shoot down her drumming projectiles at you. Scylla is going to do her clam dash. So the best thing you can do at the very beginning of this fight is run downwards. You're not going to be able to get hit by either tentacle. Scylla's going to fall short, shoot out her projectiles. You are safe from Roxy's. You are also safe from Roxy's projectiles at the very edge of the arena. Once you do that, there is no real surefire way to succeed in the Rival Sirens fight. You just have to try to get damage in wherever you can. Yes, the priority target is going to be Roxy. However, hitting Roxy is very difficult. So do not hyper-focus her for the sake of getting hit. It is not worth it. Something I actually think a lot more people need to do is try to get out one of the tentacles near Roxy, as that makes hanging around Roxy and subsequently clearing her out a lot safer. Besides that, usually the tentacles are actually the easiest things to clear in my opinion, just because they only have 2 attack patterns. They can either shoot the long-range projectile at you or swing it around in a circle, which has a pretty easy timing in terms of avoiding the damage. Once they do that, it's a long cooldown. You can punish it and clear them out. Roxy has her very typical drumming patterns, which are just shooting all the way down the screen in a row of target circles, or she can do her 2 big pulses. One where you have to run into her circle, and one where you have to run out of her circle. That is why you want to clear her out so she stops desperately zoning you and you don't have to worry about running up and into her circle, as this area down here is probably one of the safest to be in. Then there's Jetty, who can dash at you like so, She also has those small balls floating around that she can shoot out. And of course, she has her no damage, but very frustrating and lethal stun attack, which will force you to take damage to something else, if she'd be willing to do it for me here. Do quite literally anything else, Jetty, please. There we go. These are her small ball projectiles. Once again, pretty easy to punish, but they do consume a lot of area, and then that is just her stun attack. Doesn't deal any damage, but if you get hit by it, you're probably getting hit by something else. Scylla has her slow music projectile, these 4 lasers, as well as her scream, and then her clam dash. I mentioned combo breakers, which is a mechanic when you deal too much damage to a boss, they will do a scripted move. Hecate's is a teleport, Scylla's is the clam dash, like so. Be very careful. Be aware if you're trying to damage Scylla, you will probably trigger a clam dash. The best thing you can do against Scylla's clam dashes is to simply time it and dodge through them. I mentioned for the Hecate fight, getting comfortable dashing through things, getting comfortable using your iframes. It is the same things for Sirens. If you want timely damage and honestly safe damage, you need to be able to dash through certain attacks to then punish them, like a tentacle swing or a clam dash. It is imperative in these fights. There is 2 phases in the Sirens fight. We have just started phase 2. There is 4 potential featured artists. What is a featured artist? It is essentially the same enemy, but they now have bigger, stronger attack patterns. We got Scylla. I'm going to show off a Charybdis, Jetty, and Roxy feature as well, just to show what they can do. Once you trigger phase 2, everything comes back. Scylla, Roxy, Jetty, and the Charybdis tentacles. And they do have enhanced patterns with that. So you can see Scylla's projectiles got much bigger. Charybdis is now shooting out a projectile. Roxy is shooting out her pulses. Scylla's 4 lasers now comes with a projectile. Jetty is still dashing at you. With those Roxy projectiles dropping down on you in the arena, be wary of them and always stay to the corners where there is a safe spot from them. Look for your punish windows on the tentacles. Start to clear them out. And just be wary of clam dashes and Jetty rushdowns. I know it's difficult to try to dodge through everything, and I can't even do it, but you have to try. Once again, there's Roxy's in and out patterns. Another reason it makes it very difficult to try to DPS down Roxy is, of course, the water jets at the top of the fight, where they stun you when you try to attack Roxy. Once again here, if you notice something I'm not doing, is knocking out a tentacle near Roxy. And it's costing me a lot, because I'm forced next to Roxy, and I have to avoid 2 tentacles on top of everything else, which is very difficult. I'm here in the circle, I have to be wary of both their swings and the Roxy patterns. If instead, I take the time to not focus Roxy, who has a very large amount of health, yet focus a tentacle, who has a good bit less, clear this out, you'll now see that if I'm stuck in here with even Jetty, Scylla, Roxy, it's not nearly as bad because there's only 1 tentacle in with us. And that's something a lot of people forget in the Sirens fight, since you're going to have to spend a lot of time up with Roxy due to this mechanic of the 2 red targeting circles. On top of that, during these targeting circles, Scylla can occupy the space and even start up a scream covering almost the entire circle. If Scylla starts up a scream in here and you have not cleared one of the 2 tentacles next to Roxy, I promise you right now, you're getting hit by something. Luckily here, we can do this. We're still getting hit by the scream. It's a very difficult thing to deal with. Do not have that second tentacle up when Scylla starts to scream. We've broken down Roxy's typical drumming patterns up and down and in and outs. Jetty's dash, small balls, and stun. What you should focus on in terms of the tentacle near Roxy And honestly, the tentacles first, in my opinion, just because they're very easy and safe things to damage. Also, clearing tentacles means you have so much more open space to move around and act. And you are eliminating 8 different projectiles that can be shot at you, since there will no longer be any tentacles. And they have the biggest, easiest, and free-ish punish windows in the entire fight. You're also in phase 2 eliminating the Charybdis projectiles, because once you get all the tentacles down, there will no longer be those Charybdis projectiles coming out, which is quite nice. Once you've done this, you can really start to push for Roxy. If you feel like you have the opportunity to clear Roxy earlier than this, be my guest. I just think a lot of people focus way too heavily on Roxy, end up getting water jet stunned, end up getting hit by the double tentacles, end up getting pressured by Scylla or Jetty, while they're thinking Roxy, 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 and it's costing them way too much. Yes, getting Roxy out is fantastic. She has some of the most ridiculous AoE in this fight. However, that's the entire point. She is very protected. Clear that protection first, deal with her after, you will thank me later. Like I said, the featured artist doesn't fundamentally change the patterns of the enemy, it just buffs them up. You get extra projectiles, you get bigger projectiles, you get more of, you get more damage, you get more speed, etc, etc. Once you clear out everything in phase 2, it starts the final phase of just Scylla, and she will spawn a ton of adds. This is very difficult if you don't have much damage, if you're very close to death, or if you can't get in on Scylla. She will spawn a ton of adds like so, and it makes it absolutely ridiculous to try to not take damage. My advice here is to be very ready for this final phase, and the instant it opens, before all these adds get here, you want to jump Scylla and try to burst her down before all that spawns. I'll show you that in the subsequent fight, and of course we're going to talk about each different featured artist. That about ends the Sirens fight with the final phase of Scylla spawning a ton of enemies around her. Here we go into phase 2. It is Jetty. So Jetty will typically just do a ton of dashing, and now it's a double pulse on the dash. Be wary of that. Those small projectiles she also shoots out become much bigger when she's featured, which is terrifying. Once again, strategy stays the same in phase 2. Get a tentacle down near Roxy. It gives you so much more room to work with while you're up here trying to knock her down. It is quite nice. Hey, we got Roxy feature. Now is a great time to talk about it. So her typical pulses become these long array of pulses instead, which can be quite scary. The general strategy doesn't change. Look to clear out a tentacle near Roxy and then focus Roxy down. That is the big goal here. If you can't deal safe damage to Roxy, just try to pick apart the different Charybdis tentacles. Also, I'm on Medea now because I've been trying to get the featured artist for a while, and I just wanted to do this very fast. Besides that, she doesn't do anything special. It's just the in and out patterns and the change to her pulses, which can be a bit scary where she goes around her in a little arc motion. That is about that for the Roxy feature. She still shoots them all the way down. She still forces you in and out of the circles, but she also has that arc pattern that goes from left to right on her feature, like you're about to see here. It honestly, in my opinion, can be a little bit easier than base Roxy sometimes, because she really tends to focus more on those arc patterns up there, but she can start to lay out the long straight patterns on both the left and right sides going down, which are very scary. Okay, we finally got a Charybd feature. Not much different. You're still gonna go for that tentacle near Roxy, then after that, it's really not gonna matter. Just look for the easy damage, the safe damage. Any kill is a good kill to remove any sort of projectile from the arena. Charybd feature just means those Charybd projectiles being shot out are more frequent, track more aggressively. and are a wee bit scarier overall, since you will be dealing with the same fight with that extra heat-seeking, auto-tracking style projectile from Charybdis that you see chasing me now. It's one big ball, then breaks into so many small balls ever so frequently. I have to say it's my least favorite feature. It just feels like there's so much more pressure in the fight. It's pretty ridiculous. The other three are super manageable. This one is crazy tough. An already high projectile count fight just becomes that much scarier, that much more lethal, as they do have an AoE as well. But that really is the only difference from the base fight you're gonna be looking for. Alright, that is going to end it for part 1 of our Vow of Rivals bossing guide. Please let me know down in the comments below how I can improve these guides for you all. I'll be honest, I am more so of a reaction-based player, and I don't put much thought into what I do most of the time. So I find it hard to make guide content. But I also find it very rewarding knowing how many people it is helping. So I would greatly appreciate any and all feedback to make these videos better for you all. However, if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like. It does greatly help out me and the channel quite a bit. And this guide content takes a lot more time than a regular run would to put together. So I appreciate all the kindness and support you have been giving me towards it. If you want to keep up with more of my Hades 2 content, please do consider subscribing to the channel as well. Thank you again for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Okay, bye. And a massive thank you to my members for supporting the channel. John Costello, Zuko's Honor, Horia Dragomir, Avocado Anna, Gay UD, Meist Jr., Shag Daddy, Vetatoid, Rob Wallace, Katarina V, Seneca, Ticolo, Hideki 504, Andy Fu, Saint Naive, But What About the Hostages, Night Crawler, David Hyman, Paul, Shoshin, Nathan, Mininet, Andrew Reddick, Quib, and Fish Nabubu.